know that you could extend and or repair your natural toenail using dip nail powder? Hi, my name is Tia and I'm the owner of Nail Dip Studio, an online nail boutique that specializes in dip nail products that flatter women of color. If you're interested in any of the dip nail products that you've seen in today's video, head over to my store at naildipstudio.com. So in today's video, we're going to be dealing with feet. Nothing but feet. We're going to repair a damaged toenail on my left foot rather, and we're also going to repair and extend the right toenail. Okay, on the left foot, simple repair. On the right foot, we're going to have to extend and build. Okay, so the purpose of like nail extension from where I sit, especially on your toe, is just to really add that little when you're wearing your sandals, right? It gives you like that cute polished pedicure look. But some people are sort of getting that sort of thick chiclet toenail look, and it really looks fake. And I'm going to show you how to use dip nail products to get a very natural looking toenail result. Now right here I've marked both of my clear powders, one with a pink star and one with a blue star. And the reason for that is that the clear powder that has the pink star is stained. And when I say stained, I mean that pigment from another color, whether it be blue or purple or red or orange, has sort of stained the clear powder. While that powder is still good and usable, and I use that powder usually when I'm doing my initial layers underneath, I will gravitate for my lighter shades, the blue marked container, because I know that is crystal clear. It hasn't been stained. It's still going to give me a very, very pretty natural look. And it hasn't been, sort of stained. I mean, that's the best way. No pigment has sort of ran through it. It's just for clear overlays. And I decided to do this version of this particular video because I thought, so many of us have nail polish, and doing it clear with the polish would be nice. So right here I'm showing you some of the items that I have. I have 2 glass containers. I got those from the Dollar Tree. Of course, I'm using the NDS Clear Liquid Set. I'm going to have some toe separators, a nail file, a buffer, the toe separators. I'm going to also have some alcohol and some cotton rounds, and of course our handy dandy powder brush. Okay, I'm going to move everything around and basically situate my products for my overlay. And the reason that I'm saying that I'm situating myself is that for me, especially since I'm doing my nails in my nail studio, I like to sit on the floor with my back against the wall, so that positioning is most comfortable for me. For you, find your footing. Some people may want to do their nails on a sofa, using a chair, 2 chairs, sitting on the floor, but try to figure out which positioning fits best for you, because you're going to be there for a minute because you have to do both feet, and depending on how many toenails you're reconstructing or extending or just strengthening, you may need some time there. Okay, so go ahead and grab your nail forms, and you're going to need nail forms too if I didn't mention that. I'm sorry. But you're going to need some nail forms, and I like to use the double thick ones. I just find that they give me a better result, and that's why I use them. Right here, anytime I'm extending my toenail, I like to take the extender and just bend it a little bit. The extenders or the nail forms are very flat, especially if you're getting them from a roll, or if it's the sort of zigzag pull out. they're really flat, and you need to almost break that flatness in order to have that flexibility. Once you do that and you apply that form, whether it's to your nail or to your toenail, you're going to see it's easier to manipulate, to sort of secure under the free edge that you have, the remaining free edge that you have. Okay, so right here, what you're seeing me do is just really shaping and forming the form to my foot, molding it in such a way that it gives me a nice little snug little fit. Now, here's a pro tip. I right here am showing you sort of where I'm going to extend and bring my product down to, right? That's the sort of parameter. I'm not going past that point. But I also like to create just the slightest little gap so that product can seep underneath the nail and almost sandwich it. Like if you think of like, you ever make like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and you like take the bread, but it's not necessarily perfectly aligned. It's like the bread is like, or the top piece is sort of seeping over, and maybe the jelly is there and some of the jelly has dropped down on the bread underneath, so it sort of created this like little situation. That's what that does. When you create that little gap, it gives you almost like a clamp, if you will, like it clamps your nail. It's like I'm right there, like it's that clamp. I like doing that. And I'm telling you, if you do that, you will see longevity too in your overlay. Okay. So right here, I'm showing you that I should have, but I didn't, buff my nails just so that I can provide some texture so that the product can actually seep into, it can have some texture to grab and adhere to and seep into some of those crevices. When you buff your nails and you give it some texture, especially on your toenail, this is especially um, important. You want to make sure that you buff it good and that you really provide that texture in and around the side walls and by your cuticle wall, your cuticle line. And the reason for that is that your feet, they're not like your hands, in that we're wearing socks, it's in the water, we're rougher on our feet, and you want to actually make sure that you have longevity in your product and that you've created a good seal. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab step number 1, which is the primer, and that's going to help dehydrate the nail, remove any excess oils that you may have or products that you may have from doing your pedicure. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to give that a minute or two just to really seep in. I'm going to grab step number 2. Step number 2 is going to be the base, and you need that to adhere that clear powder. Okay, so go ahead and grab your clear powder and also grab the 2 glass bowls. And again, I got these from the dollar store, and the mat that I'm actually using, that came from the dollar store too, but it's in the kitchen section. It's like that, it's like a padded dish towel for your dishes, but I use that instead for when I'm doing my pedicures on the floor. So try that if you're looking for some padded cushioning or pillow towel. Right here, and let me say this. Let me apologize because my hand is in some of the shots and sort of blocking the technique. So I'm going to reshoot this video in like a week or two so that you can, from a different angle, so that you can see it straight on. But right here, I applied the base to the free edge so that I can start the extension. And I'm going wide, and the reason why I'm going wide, and you will see that result, is because you want more product to the side that you can actually start to foul, that you can actually start to shape. Sometimes if you're not dead center, You may put too little product on, and you've created almost like a chip in your application, and it will snag if you wear stockings and socks and stuff like that. It can actually snag, those sidewalls can snag. So that's why I prefer to go wide, because I can usually file off everything that I need and really get a nice shape. So right here, I kept that product on for a good while. And when I say a good while, I mean probably at least 30 to 45 seconds, like almost a minute, just to make sure that that powder really adheres. Because here's the thing, we're using clear. I don't want any air bubbles. I don't want any dry spots. I don't want any, you know, um, bad illusions. But when it comes to like the clear, sometimes you can like have like a matte shine look. It's like this weird thing that it's like shiny but matte at the same time. I don't want any of that. I like to leave that powder correction, sorry, on for a minute, because again, you want to form that relationship. I want this crystal clear. I have customers that prefer to wear nothing but clear polish, or like bath water on their toes, and this is what they use. See, when I'm applying the second base layer to, again, aid in extending out that tip, see how crystal clear that was? That was like clear. That's what you want. That's why I separate my clear powder that has been stained from some pigment versus my glass that's in a different, has a different star on it. And again, just leave this on. You want to create the relationship. Tap off the extra powder, but really let it sit there. And then here's here's a pro tip, and I often talk about this in my other videos. Take your brush and tap it in. Tap that product in. It's almost like, taking your beauty blender and, tapping and spreading out the concealer. You're doing the same thing with the powder brush, in my opinion. So that's why I do that. So just tap it in. It really gives you more security. It really allows the powder to really adhere to the base coat. Dust everything off, right? Get readjusted. Grab some water, and then go in for your first full layer. Okay, so again, we did 2 layers to extend the actual free edge. We went wide. Now we're doing a not full overlay. I would say maybe 3/4 of an overlay, because there's going to be a section that you'll see once the powder is off, it's finished setting, that I need to fill in that gap. But again, we want a realistic look. And that realistic look means that you don't have, thick globs of dip powder, because the more layers you add, the thicker it will become, and it can get really thick. It can get like, wow, that's thick as hell, Okay, yeah, and this is not for those clients that actually have some type of nail trauma. They're literally people who are applying products really, really, really thick, like almost like chicken nugget thick. Like, damn, that's thick. And I prefer more of a natural look. So if I'm going to enhance my toenail, it has to be a natural looking look. Anything that's going to give me like double chiclet, no, I can't, I can't do it. And it will, when you put on your shoes, you don't feel the extra product. Like, you don't feel like there's extension on your toe. It doesn't feel like that. When you put your shoes on, it's not a weird feeling. It's not like you're, sometimes you can put on a shoe, especially like a tennis shoe, if you have ever had toenail tips before, and it almost feels like your nail is constantly pushing back into your foot. That could be because your shoes are too small. That could be one. But 9 times out of 10, that toenail is too long, too thick. And as a result of that, it's pushing back on the actual nail and creating some tension and some trauma there. So that's why, I prefer this look, this application. It's just, to me, it's just better. So as you see, I just, tapped everything off. I'm dusting off everything, and if you look closely, you can sort of see towards the cuticle line, there is a separation where you can actually see the product versus my natural nail. And I'm going to focus on that. But before I do, I'm looking at my form and I'm like, okay, let me reseal this. And then it was like, there was no more adhesive. And that happens sometimes. The adhesive on one form versus another form, one could have more, one could have less. So I'm basically right there, I'm testing to see if my nail extension was hard enough to actually start to remove the nail form, and it was. So you're going to see me take that nail form off, remove that. You see how it's just popping off easily. If you have some resistance when you're attempting to take your form off, give it a couple of more minutes, because it could be that it's still wet underneath there and it hasn't had time to really settle in the set. But as you can see, I definitely went wide, especially on the side walls. But again, that's going to give me the sort of real estate that I need so that I can shape my nail up. Now right here, what I'm showing you is that you can sort of see it almost looks like there's a gap there, and that's what I was speaking of when I said earlier I like to leave just a little bit of a gap. That gap creates a clamp effect. Like, so think of it like a binding clip where you can, like, you're binding paper and you clamp that stack of papers. This is what we just did. We just clamped that product to that actual nail. We have the product on top, the natural nail is in between, and then we have the bottom clamp underneath there. What we're going to do though, when we apply our final layer of base, because this is going to be our final application, is we're going to sweep that brush like I'm doing right here across that free edge to help bridge that gap. Okay, and as you can see, I went in, and I normally wouldn't put that much product towards the back, the cuticle line, the side walls, but because this is for the toenail and I'm trying to eat up some of that space, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And because I know I'm doing that particular step, I'm building, I really have to let this product sit on here now. Again, not going to disturb it for at least a minute. I'm really going to let that powder sit there. And even when I take and dust the powder off, what I'm going to do is tap it in. Again, I want to keep as much of the powder on top of that natural nail to cure with that base as possible. That's why I'm going to do that. Now you can see that I'm just tapping it off. And again, tap it into your dish, because we're going to still use this powder. And that's why you have the two. So you can put your toe over one as you're pouring the powder over the toe to apply it. Tap, tap, tap. Use the dish underneath to catch the fallout. Tap everything off. And then when it's time to go for another application, you swip it out. You swatch it. You can't talk. You switch it out with the container that doesn't have the powder. And as you can see there, I sort of filled in that gap. But what I'm going to do when I start the filing process is I'm going to be filing in a downward motion. And I'm filing in a downward motion because I'm going to erase that bridge and basically create that curve going down. The way that my toenails grow, they grow in a sort of downward, like they grow out but down. And so I'm going to replicate that, because the other nail that doesn't have as much damage doesn't need a nail form. It doesn't need that, that real extension. It just needs, I need to repair the tear, seal that before it goes all the way over to the other side. But again, as you can see, right here, I am about to apply. Oh, well, maybe I am going to apply another layer of product over here. So this would be my third full layer, 2 half layers, and my third full layer. Okay, applying the base, making sure that I am covering all areas, and you can tell that's crystal clear. You can see my natural toenail. Again, that's why I mark the powders, because once you stain one, you lose some of that transparency. It doesn't matter if it's on like a darker shade, it won't pick up, but on like a white, you'll see it. And so I like the crystal clear. I like to keep one very pure, because it works. And if you're someone who has dip products, you can use your nail polish on top, and we will do that later on in this video. Okay, see how I'm tapping that in, tapping away, then I'll brush it off. And again, don't let that I would say milky shade fool you, because it is not going to look like that. It's going to be crystal clear, which is what you want. So now moving in with step number 3. And step number 3 is the actual bond. The bond is what you use to really help the base and the powder merge together and form that bond that they need. The other thing that you're going to see me do with step number 3 is I'm taking the brush and I'm going to go underneath that free edge where we created that clamp. And the reason that you want to go underneath is that you want to make sure that bond can touch all of that product, like that entire application, even underneath. That's going to help really create an amazing clamp on your toenail. And your feet take a beating, like when you really think about it. Like, you might hit your toe on the corner, the bed, something drops, you put on your tennis shoes, sandal, you ask somebody drop something. So you want to make sure that you've provided enough strength when you're doing your layers, and that grip is there. So I'm going to put my right foot to the side, and I'm going to start working on the left foot. Now again, I'm repairing a tear. Unlike the last toe, I remember that I didn't buff my nail, so I'm just creating some texture on the nail plate so that I could actually do my first application. Okay, we're just really concentrating on that tear, and that corner, the right corner of my the right corner of my left foot has a little, it's chipped. So what I think I'm going to do is try to extend it just a little bit, but then file it down so it evens out. And you'll see that in the results later. But what you're going to see me do is just move in with step number 1, which is the primer. And we're going to basically repeat everything that we did on the right foot minus the nail form, because we're not adding the extension. We're just going in to do a repair that is not that badly damaged. So we don't want to take it, for me at least, I don't need the nail form to extend that corner when I know I can just file it down. Okay, look at your containers and see which one has the most powder, and then whatever container has the least amount of powder, go ahead and just consolidate it all into one container so that you can start your second application. Okay, so again, going in with step number one, I'm just going to apply the primer to the entire nail. I'm going to sweep the free edge, but I'm really just applying that product all on the natural nail, because again, I'm not extending, I'm repairing the tear. So some of you may be in this situation yourself, and it's like, how do I fix this? Now, unlike the right foot, I applied the base coat to the natural nail and I didn't extend. Okay, so you're gonna see me add at least 3 to 4 layers so that I can match or at least mirror the right foot, because again, we're trying to make sure that this symmetry is there, that they're somewhat even and not off center. And I don't want it to be that clockable that I have on a fake toenail, or that my toenail may be enhanced. Okay, let this product sit. Don't brush, tap it in, then you can brush. Okay, don't just go straight in and just brush it off. Give it a minute or two. Let it sit, especially if you're new to this. Let it sit for a second to really get to know each other. Then dust it off. Okay. Now, because I'm going to extend that right corner on my left foot just a smidget, I'm going to add some of the base to step number 2. I'm going to add that to that free edge just to extend it out just a tad bit. That way, when I go in to file, I don't have to file too far down where I lose my length. I don't want to lose that. Okay. So again, you want to go with very thin layers, very, very thin layers, right? And sweep. See how I'm sweeping that corner, sweeping that free edge. I'm just going to add just a little bit of powder there just to extend it, like very, very a small millimeter. Like, I don't even think it's a millimeter, but whatever the smallest little is, that's how much I'm extending it. Put the powder on, tap, 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 tap. And again, see right here, this little, I came a little over, and then I was like, oh, that's not really any base. It's just the powder. So I was just basically trying to see if I needed to clean that up, and I was going to clean that up during that phase so that I wouldn't have to do that much shaping on the back end, and that's something you can definitely do. As you can see here, again, still allowing the powder to settle. You want the powder to settle. Don't be in a rush. Put on New Amsterdam or something and watch that, and then just let that powder sit. That's what I was catching up on New Amsterdam. It's a pretty good show. And once you finish letting it settle, you can dust it off. Now, again, here's a side note. If you have the clear powder and you, let's just say you have tons of polish, this is a good technique that you can actually use on your natural nails. Like if you just wanted to do clear overlay, 1 or 2, I would say 2 or 3 dips, layers, and then taking your favorite polish, you can actually sort of save and have multiple options if you have nail polish, because again, just doing the clear, you can polish your nails however you want them, and you can do that both for your hand and your feet, and like literally never have to go back. Okay, but again, I'm about to apply my next layer. See how clear that is? And again, this is why I keep an unstained and a stained version of clear always on my station, because once it's stained, it doesn't give you that that crystal clear look. It's just not going to give it to you. And I have customers that prefer to wear their nails literally crystal, like just clear, like with like no polish, nothing on. And when I started sort of testing formulas and stuff like that, because there's a difference in clear, I always went back to this one because it just held up so well, for not only, pigmented shades, to encapsulate that, but on its own, it was a crystal clear, a clear that you could really just wear on its own. And, if you're into dip, you know that not every clear is the same. So I was pretty excited about that. Right here, I'm adding step number 3, which is the bond. And again, as you can see, it's clear. It's really clear. We're going to let that product seep in the bond. We're going to sweep it across the free edge to really allow it some time to actually cure the product. We're making sure that we're hitting those side walls. Again, we want to make sure that that bond is seeping in to do its job. And now what I'm doing is I'm just consolidating and then pouring the clear back into that crystal clear. And because all we used was clear, there was no pigment contamination, no staining there. I can put everything back in the container for future use. So that's just, another reason why I use those bowls, because it just keeps everything very, very clean and free. So right here, what I'm showing you is, the actual nail itself and the little clamp situation that I created. So I'm going to go in with my file. I'm using both the 180 side and the 100. The 100 side is the side that I'm going to be using first because I needed to take the bulk of the product off. And normally I would tell you not to use that. But in this particular case, I know that my nail is bulky, because I intentionally did that. I extended it past where I wanted so that I could size it up to where I needed it to be. I went over on the side wall so that I can narrow that out the way I want it, and create the curvature or the taperedness that I like, without creating an illusion or an appearance of like a chipped gap situation from your product to your natural nail because you didn't extend it far enough. So that's why I'm going in with the 100 side. And I'm filing it straight up and down because I find that that gives me the straightest line. It's not an uneven line. And now what you're seeing me do is sort of pulling back some of that skin just so that I can get a better angle on filing and shaping the product. But I need to file a lot of this product off. And what you're going to see me do is at this point, or I'm about to reach a point where I really can't see because it's too much dust, because again, I'm trying to file off this product. You're going to see me grab my brush to dust this powder off. And what that does, stop periodically when you're doing your filing, especially if you're new to doing dip, so that you can get your base. You can see your base again and say, okay, hey, I like how this is shaping. I like how this is forming. This is good. Or, this is not really shaping. Let me change techniques. Okay, so don't be, that's something that you can do. But again, I'm still using the 100 side because I need to file off the bulk of this nail. In a minute, I'm about to start filing in a downward straight motion. And again, that's just to help to narrow that step. Again, the way that my nails naturally go is that they go out, but they go down, right? It's almost like it's like a slant, like a point down, okay? And I'm going to start to file that so that gets out the way. Now, what you see me doing here is sort of just pulling back the very tip of the free edge so that I can get under that nail and really smooth and file that out. I'm also tapering it at the same time. And I prefer a tapered look, not so much as square, but more of like a tapered coffin look. See right here, still using that 100, and I'm just going straight down, downward motion. I'm filing that down because again, I'm trying to smooth things out, but then I'm also removing the bulk, because that bulk, if you would have saw my toenail straight on, it would have looked stupid. Um, it it mm, it would have looked, yeah. It wouldn't have been. Mm-mm. You might as well put on a sock. I wouldn't have. Nope. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Check your nail from side to side. Look at it from, the side. Look at it from the opposite side. If you can, bend your foot back some just to see, or stand up and stand in the mirror and look at it to see how it's looking from side to side. Because again, you don't want you're not trying to be clocked. You don't want you don't want it to look like, oh, she has a whole bunch of fake toenails. You want it to look as natural as possible. And sometimes if you're not looking at the angles, you can miss something. So just, see how I'm sort of turning my foot around. I'm turning it over here because it looked fine from where I was on top looking down. But from that side, that looks funny as hell. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. I gotta fix this. This is why I'm saying side to side, side to side. You know, use the 100 side because you're taking off bulk, but foul. And you don't always have to foul uh, side to side or frontwards and backwards. If you're more comfortable doing a one direction foul technique, then do that. Right? Do that because that takes off less product until you build up your confidence. Me, I know how to, you know, speed up the motion to do the fouling, which you see here, because I've been doing this for so long. I know how much pressure, but even I make mistakes. So again, you'll see me pause and rotate from side to side, angle to angle. And again, that's just to offset my filing technique so I'm not taking off too much product in one area. I'm equally doing, if I'm doing, let's just say 15 strokes on the left, I come over and do 15 strokes on the right. I'll hit the center and do 15 strokes, and then I'll repeat as needed. So that's what you see me doing. And again, filing this down, trying to get it as close to I like just a little nail over that free edge. Just like a little bit. I don't like a lot of nail, or my nails too long, because I don't like that the way my shoe feels, my tennis shoe, and I wear tennis shoes. So when I'm working out and stuff like that, I don't like the way that feels. It almost feels like your toenail is like pushing back into your foot. And so I just prefer a little bit of nail. But I think that the way that I shape, file, and apply the product gives me a very unclockable, natural look. So that's something that I really like, that I've perfected over the years. And again, just take your time. If you didn't, you missed something when you were doing your pedicure, get your nippers, grab them, go ahead and just clean up any areas that you may need to clean up. This is the time to do it. I think that it's really good, just to, clean everything up. Make sure you got everything, um, before you start moving on to your polish and the final product. So that's what I'm doing. And again, I'm going to go ahead and put that foot to the side, my right foot, and start to file and work on my left foot. Now again, you can see that one side is lopsided, and so we're going to file straight up and down to even that out. Okay, we're going to even that out. Over here, because I didn't have the bulk, I'm using the 180 side. I'm not taking off as much product. If you see the fallout is totally different on this foot than it is on the right foot, because the right foot had a extension and repair. The left foot is only a repair. It's not so much as a tip extension application. So the 180 side is perfectly fine for you to use. And again, you see how I'm not going super fast. I'm keeping a steady pace, but I am rotating the toe as I rotate my hand so that I'm not overly removing product that I need for this particular application. Okay. 180 side, perfect. Take that curved in if you're using a nail file similar to mine. And you want to go ahead and buff out that cuticle line and your side walls, okay? I like to use that edge. It just, it glides. It glides, and it doesn't provide as many opportunities for snagging or creating little hangnails on your toes and stuff like that. So I'm just going to point out to you, I'm showing you what the best way. Let me flip my foot up. See how natural that looks? Like, see how that looks like just a natural toenail. Like you wouldn't assume, oh, she has 3 layers of dip powder on there. It just literally looks like, oh, that's her nail. And then this one looks like I have a thick nail, but nonetheless, it doesn't look artificial. It doesn't look like, oh my goodness, your nail looks like a nugget. It doesn't look like a fouled nugget. It looks like a natural toenail. So I'm going to grab my nail buffer here and just buff everything out. Make sure you buff the free edge. Make sure you smooth that out, especially if you're going to be wearing sandals, because you don't want to snag, putting on your cute sandals and stuff like that, and you snag it and, mess things up. So just make sure you buff everything out and really feel for smoothness, because we're going to be using polish, and you won't have the opportunity to move anything around in terms of like your buffing and stuff like that, and your product, if it's not smoothed out correctly. So just smooth everything out so that it's really a nice overlay. And when you go to polish your nails, it looks so cute. This is just like one of those things that I would say, like, when, especially if you take, if you are challenged with, sort of keeping long toenails because you may accidentally chip and break a nail, this is a great alternative, because you can either extend it and repair it and pull it out, or you can just repair tear. Excuse me. Right here, I'm applying step number 3. Yes, I am reapplying the bond. I applied the bond before we started filing and shaping and molding. And now, after we've shaped and molded everything, I'm applying another layer. And I am going to apply several layers of bond, because I really, really want to make sure that that bond has time to seep through and really connect with the layers that we have, but that I've also too taken the bond and swept it underneath the nail to really create a nice little clamp between the product and a natural nail. And that's what you're going to see. Okay. I'm like, I said, several layers just to make sure that it seeps in. And you want to let it sit there for a minute, okay, before you start to move on. Now, once I let that bond sit there, I'm going to take those cotton rounds and some alcohol, and I am going to wipe my toenail down. I'm not going to put it in any water just yet, but I am going to wipe it down with some alcohol so that I can remove the bond, and I'm going to start I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna add my nail polish. Now remember, the whole purpose of today's tutorial is to give you longevity with your clear dip powder, and then to incorporate some of the nail polishes that you may have at home. So for me, I'm only doing the tutorial on the big toenails because my other toenails, as you can see, didn't have any discoloring. I wasn't dealing with any darkness, and I did not need to repair, extend any of them. They were pretty good, pretty decent. So what I'm going to do here is use my toe separators and start to prep the toes for the polish application, because that's what's next. Now, because I'm using a red orange shade, I like to use some type of protein base that helps me to avoid staining of my natural nail. So I find that sometimes darker shades can stain, but this particular base polish does help with that, and it doesn't stain as bad as it would if I didn't apply it. So I'm just using some LA Girl polish. I'm just showing you what you can use that you can get out of the grocery store in terms of polish. So right here, this is the LA Girl, I think marine base coat. It's pretty decent. And then the polish I got out of the CVS, it was like $1 too. It's I think Tango Mango or something. It's like a red orange, very very spring, not quite summer type of look. It's like the shade that you wear right before you go into your all white season on your toes. So I'm going to use that in this tutorial. So we're going to apply the base, and then we're going to apply that shade. I usually put on 1 coat of the base, 2 coats of the actual polish, and then I'll finish, depending on the top coat, with 1 to 2 layers of that, just so that I can get some really pretty shine on my toes. I'm going to grab my small little fan, and I am going to use it to help dry the nail polish for each layer that I have. And yeah, I just wanted to come and show you all just a different video, and different ways that you can actually use your dip nail products. Thank you so much for listening to me. I know this was a long video, but I wanted to give you the full picture before you, started your own sort of dip nail, toenail polish. Toe tutorial, or you start your own dip application that you got some tips and tricks from me. So hopefully this video was helpful. I do read your comments. I love seeing your comments. Thank you so much to everyone that's been purchasing from me. It is really a great feeling, and yeah, thank you. It's weird, but I'm very appreciative and humbled by the overall journey. So I'm gonna let you all finish watching this video. I've been talking for a minute, and until next time, keep dipping. Thanks for watching. Bye.